Hi everyone, Danielle here. I'm doing a solo overview of Gloomhaven buttons and bugs. I do have this already set up for scenario 1. This is a rude welcome. That's the map we're using. Alright, so we've got this pretty much all set up and ready to go. We have the monster tracker here, and essentially you'll put the card that the scenario tells you to in terms of monsters, and you'll find it and place it. And so this is the bandit guard, and depending on the dice roll, you might have to carry out one of these columns on their turn. And then they have 8 health each, and they have 1 shield until the end of the scenario. And the bandit guards, they show up twice on the map. So we have bandit guard 1, bandit guard 2, and I can actually zoom in a little bit here just to show you closer. The green is number 1, then 2 is the blue one. And we have some obstacles, as you can see on some of these hexes, that could possibly do damage to us. And we start our mini on the starting hex here. And our character is the bruiser. So this is the bruiser miniature. So we'll have all of this just kind of sitting here, and we'll be moving around the this little map. And then zooming out, we have the bruiser card, and this bruiser card on the back is double-sided. Told us which cards we needed for level 1. So we have leaping cleave, warding strength, spare dagger, and shield bash. These are 4 cards that we will use on side A to start, and it's in our current hand. And this will tell us the max hit points. So we've set our max hit points on the dial here for us, and then you'll see the 8 for the 1 and 2 that I mentioned for the bandit guard. So we will also put some conditions on here. I have a bunch of them here. As we need to, we will place it onto this little card for bruiser. You'll notice some areas of this. So above this card, we could put out active stuff. We have the lost cards, items on the bottom, and the left side will be the discard. So that's kind of the play area. And then we have our tracker for our attacks. So when we attack, we utilize this as the modifier. You do have the ability to replace this with other cards. It kind of has like an indent to it. But for now, we'll just keep it at this. And you put a white cube at the top of the tracker. Similarly, the monsters will have their own, and they share one. And they will require a modifier roll just like we do. And again, there are different difficulty levels. You could place it here if you wanted to make it harder or easier, I think. And then the white cube starts at the top as well. And you'll see how that works. You'll also notice a white cube here to track the basically the initiative for the bandit guards. And then we have the icon reference card here, which will be very useful because there's a ton of different icons and conditions that we'll want to familiarize ourselves with. Okay, so I think we could probably get started. So first things first, we have to pick cards. So between these 4 cards, we have to figure out how we'll defeat both of these monsters. Basically, that's our goal for the scenario. If you haven't seen Gloomhaven before, the cards have 2 different sections. There's a top and there's a bottom. So if you choose the top of one card, the other card, because you're choosing 2 cards on your turn, the other card you have to use the bottom one, or vice versa. So you can't use both tops or both bottom abilities. You have to choose one or the other for each. And also, if you don't want to use the abilities on any of the top or bottom, you could use a default ability. So if you chose the top, it'll be 2 attack, and then the bottom is 2 movement. If you really just don't want to use the one that's listed on the card itself. So I think in this case, I'm going to try to go for the green, which is number 1. And in that case, I don't know if I'll need anything else other than maybe a shield bash and warding strength. So I think I'll give these a try. And then between these two cards, I have to pick one of the initiative numbers. The initiative numbers are in the middle of the cards. So it's 32 and 15. The earlier the number, or the lower the number, that's when you'll go first. They prioritize the lower numbers. So 15 means I would go before anyone who's greater than a 15. So I'm going to choose 15 as my initiative number. Let's determine the initiative for the bandit guards. You roll the die, and it landed on the plus sign. So their initiative is 70. So they're going to go way after us. So let's take our turn. And I think we'll do the bottom, which is move 4. And so I will use that, move 4. And that means you move up to 4 spots. I have to move 1, 2 to get adjacent to Bandit Guard 1 to be able to attack. So now that I've done that, I'm going to use the top part of Warding Strength. And now we have to see, what is this icon? So that icon says push X, which is 2. Force target to move 2 away. So after the attack, I have to do that. And then I could give myself Strengthen, which says advantage on all attacks. Remove at the end of next turn. So I'll be able to get both of these done. I'm going to do 3 damage to this bandit. I have to roll the initiative, this modifier die. It is a minus, so that's -1 to my base attack of 3. So it's 2 damage to Bandit Guard number 1. So it's down to 6. And then we move this down 1 on the tracker. Okay. And, oh, they actually have 1 shield, so they actually just take 1. Forgot about that. So something to note is it tells you, kind of what's ongoing for them, and they always have a shield, so they only just take 1, which is not great. All right, so we used both of these cards. Because they were on side A, they flip over onto side B, and they go back to your hand that way. And so you do have to keep track of your cards being on side A or side B. Oh, okay, I think what's next will be the monsters will go, and they go in ascending order. So monster 1 will go first, and then monster 2. So monster 1 is going to move 2, but it's already adjacent to me, so it's not going to do much movement, and then it's going to hit me for 2. Let's try to see what they do in terms of modifier there. They got a minus, so it's -1 damage for that, and then I'll take 1 damage, so I'm at 17. Oh wait, I gained my condition. I forgot. So I gained my condition. I should leave these cards out, the one that's active still. So this one is still active. I still have this self, so I have to find that condition. Or maybe there is none. Is there any? Maybe I just leave the card out. Yeah, no, it's here. Okay, so condition is strengthened, and so yeah, I think that's fine. I'll just put it on my sheet, on my card here to signify that. So I have strengthened till end of next turn. All right, and then we'll go on to monster 2. They're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna move 2, 1, 2, and they would do an attack if they could. Right now they cannot. So that's the end of that turn. And then we start again. We look at our hand. I'll probably want to do at least a 27 so I could get first initiative. So I'll do spare dagger and maybe unstoppable charge, but that has a high attack. Maybe I won't. What could I do? You know what? Maybe I will. And I'll use the default movement on the spare dagger. Okay, so these will be the 2 cards I choose. Let's see what initiative they will have. I'm choosing 27 as mine. So they're going to be initiative 70 again. All right, so I will go first. I'm going to do my bottom default movement of moving. Actually, I don't need to move. I'm targeting monster 1. So let's see. We'll end up doing 2 base damage, and then that icon is reduce target's shield by X, which is 1. So they won't have a shield this turn. All right, so let's modify our attack. And so it's +0, which doesn't change the base. So it's going to do 2 damage. So it's going to be down to 5. And then I'll use my unstoppable charge and do 4 damage. Let's modify that. And it's going to be nothing. So I think that means, unfortunately, the attack was blocked. I have to confirm that, but I believe that's what that means. Yeah, so the attack doesn't end up going through, which is unfortunate. And so now my turn is over. Ooh, I had strength. I had to remember to look at the conditions. So strength says advantage on all attacks. Remove at end of next turn. So advantage is basically I rolled twice. So let me roll a second time for that one and see what I get. I got the same thing. So unfortunately that doesn't count. Yeah, so that was that. That was the end of my turn. The B card goes into discard, and then the A card will flip over into the B side, and then it will be placed into my hand as just like that. So now monster 1, they're going to do an attack basically. So let's do that. They're going to get +2. That's going to be 4 damage to me. Ooh. And so I'm down to 14. And then this one's going to move 2 towards me. 1, 2. But I'm still not adjacent to that, so it's not going to attack me. Alright, does this move down 1? Yeah, it needs to. Okay. Alright. So now we have 3 cards to choose from, the lowest being 35, but maybe I won't worry about that. Yeah, I'll use both of these B cards, Skewer and Overwhelming Assault, and I'll choose 35 as my initiative. Rolling initiative for the Bandit Guards. Now they are going to go first, because their number is 30 and my next highest was 35, so that's the one I chose. So they will go first. They're going to attack, so let's roll. So the monster 1 will attack me for 1, and they will get +1, so I'm going to be hit with 3. It's not going well. Down to 11, and the monster 2 will move up to 2 spaces to be adjacent to me. And now they attack as well. And that's going to give them a +0. So they'll do 1 damage to me. So I'm down to 10. Alright, well, I'm going to end the overview here. So you did get to see a couple turns between the player and the bandit guards. As you can see, it's very quick. There's really not much to it. It's just remembering the little steps of like moving down the cube. Honestly, that's probably the biggest rule that I miss, is just moving down the cube, because obviously the modifier will impact how the game will play out. I'm hoping that if I were to continue, I would be able to take out these 2 guards, but it's getting tight because I'm down to 10 from 18 health. And my next turn I would have had just 1 card to choose from, because these 2 cards would be in my discard. They were on side B. And so this is the only remaining card. And when that happens, you have to do a rest, basically. And when you rest, there's just some steps you have to follow. And then when it's your turn in terms of initiative, your initiative is actually like 99. So there's a short rest, and then there's like a long rest, which are all in the rule book. And it's interesting because this game didn't come with like the full rule book. I had to go on the website and look at the living rule book, which is, I guess, a rule book that will be constantly updated as time goes on. So I thought that was interesting. I actually decided to print out, create my own little reference sheet just for some of the rules that I typically cannot seem to remember. But yeah, you can see this on the BGG files under this game if you're interested in printing this out for yourself. But yeah, some of the resting information is at the bottom here. So it says resting is the main way to retrieve cards from your discard pile. You have two options, a short rest or a long rest. In both cases, the rest can only be performed if you have at least 2 cards in your hand and or discard pile. This includes cards with persistent bonuses in your active area, as they weren't used for an action with the lost icon. The lost icon looks something like this. We didn't come across it yet. But basically, during the end of round step, you can perform a short rest, and that's where you return all your cards from your discard pile to your hand and flip all the B side cards in your hand to their A side. And then you have to actually lose a card at random. So, like, you're thinning out your options. Which is not great. So it says basically, if you would like to keep the card that was lost, you could suffer 1 damage to lose a different random card instead. But you can only do that once per short rest. And then during the card selection step, you can do a long rest. So basically, during the end of round step, you could do a short rest, but during the card selection step of the next round, you can declare a long rest. And it says this constitutes your entire turn for the round, and it's performed on initiative 99. So when you long rest, you have to follow these steps. Return all cards from your discard pile to your hand and flip all B side cards in your hand to their A side, then lose 1 card of your choice, and that's mandatory. And then you can actually do an optional thing where you can heal 2 to yourself. And then you get to recover all of your spent items, which is optional. But these are items that can be used during the same turn when they're recovered. And then you have to lose a card as part of resting. So if there are no other cards in your hand to lose, you must instead lose one of the cards in the active area that does not have the lost icon. If there are no cards in the active area that can be lost, either resolve the other steps of the rest and check for exhaustion as the start of the next round is normal. So exhaustion, which I should probably mention, you could be exhausted in 2 ways. If you run out of hit points, so obviously if I go down to 0, I lose. I'm exhausted. Or if you have no cards. So if you don't have at least 2 cards in your hand to play, or at least 2 cards in your hand or discard pile so that you can rest at the start of a round, then you are exhausted and you actually lose the scenario. Yeah, so that's, a quick overview. There's definitely a ton more rules, especially when it comes to conditions and stuff. But I like it. This was a really cool implementation of Gloomhaven, like on your desk. I'm basically just playing on my desk, and you normally would not be able to do that in a real, Gloomhaven game. All right. Well, let me know what you guys think. I am working through this first scenario still. And hopefully we'll get through all of the scenario decks soon. I'm excited to just kind of see how the rest of the game progresses. I also am curious to see how all the different cards work for the other characters, because Bruiser is just one of them. I think there's like 3 others. So that would be pretty cool to experiment with. Let me know if you guys have any preferences in terms of like which character you ended up choosing and had the most fun with or success with. But yeah, as always, if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe if you're interested in seeing more videos like this. I do unboxings and playthroughs and sometimes live streams, and I would love to interact with you more. All right, have a good one. Bye.